Someone is devoted to you not because you demanded loyalty, not because you bound them with promises, fear, or obligation, but because you made loyalty feel alive. You did not treat it as a rule carved into stone or a contract signed under pressure. You treated it like a living thing that breathes, grows, stumbles, heals, and becomes stronger with care. That is rare. Most people speak about loyalty as if it is owed. You embodied it as if it were shared. And because of that, someone chose you again and again, even when walking away would have been easier. You showed that loyalty is not loud. It does not announce itself with grand speeches or dramatic gestures meant for an audience. It shows itself in consistency. In the way you stayed when things were inconvenient. In the way you listened when it would have been easier to defend yourself. In the way you protected someone's dignity even when they were not present to see it. That kind of loyalty does something powerful. It creates safety. And when a human being feels safe, devotion grows naturally, without force. You made loyalty a living thing by practicing it when no one was watching. When there was no reward guaranteed. When silence followed your effort. When gratitude did not arrive on time. You stayed aligned with your values anyway. You did not weaponize loyalty to control. You did not keep score. You did not say, "After all I've done for you," as a way to trap someone into staying. You gave freely, and that freedom made your loyalty feel pure rather than heavy. There is a deep difference between loyalty that cages and loyalty that nurtures. Caging loyalty demands proof, constant reassurance, and sacrifice without care. Nurturing loyalty says, "Be who you are, and I will still choose you." You lived in that second space. You allowed the other person to breathe. You allowed them to grow, change, question, and even falter, without immediately threatening abandonment. In doing so, you showed them that loyalty does not mean perfection. It means presence. Someone became devoted to you because you never made them feel replaceable. Not in words alone, but in behavior. You remembered the small things. You noticed shifts in their energy. You checked in without being asked. You showed up emotionally, not just physically. You did not treat them like an option waiting to be swapped out for something better. You treated them like a person whose inner world mattered. That kind of attention leaves a mark. You made loyalty a living thing by choosing honesty over comfort. You did not say what was easy just to keep the peace. You said what was true, with care. You understood that real loyalty sometimes means uncomfortable conversations, not silent resentment. You respected them enough to be real with them. And in a world where so many people disappear emotionally to avoid conflict, your willingness to stay present during discomfort built deep trust. Devotion grows where trust lives. Trust grows where actions align with words. You did not promise endlessly and deliver occasionally. You promised thoughtfully and delivered consistently. Even when you could not give everything, you gave clarity. Even when you were unsure, you communicated. Even when you were tired, you did not vanish. That reliability became emotional shelter. And people become devoted to places where they feel sheltered. You did not rush loyalty. You let it grow at its own pace. You understood that devotion forced too early feels fragile, but devotion earned over time feels unbreakable. You allowed space for connection to deepen naturally. You did not rush milestones to prove something to yourself or others. You valued depth over speed. That patience showed emotional maturity, and maturity is magnetic. Someone is devoted to you because you did not confuse loyalty with possession. You never tried to own them. You never treated their independence as a threat. You celebrated their growth, even when it meant they needed space. You trusted that loyalty does not shrink when someone expands, it strengthens. That trust told them you were secure, not fearful. And people are drawn to those who do not need to control to feel valued. You made loyalty a living thing by forgiving without forgetting the lesson. You did not cling to mistakes as weapons. You did not repeatedly punish someone for something you claimed to have forgiven. When you chose to forgive, you did the hard internal work of letting go of resentment. At the same time, you learned, adjusted boundaries, and grew wiser. That balance showed emotional intelligence, and emotional intelligence builds devotion far more deeply than blind tolerance ever could. You did not abandon yourself to prove loyalty. This is crucial. You stayed loyal to your values, your limits, and your self-respect. You did not teach someone that loyalty requires self-destruction. Instead, you modeled a healthy version, loyalty that stands upright, not loyalty that kneels. That showed the other person that being close to you would not cost them their identity. And when people feel they can be loyal without losing themselves, they choose it willingly. Someone became devoted to you because you did not disappear when things became ordinary. You did not chase only intensity, drama, or excitement. You showed up in the quiet moments. In routine days. In unglamorous situations. You understood that real loyalty lives in the ordinary, not just the extraordinary. Anyone can be present during excitement. Few remain engaged during stillness. You did. You made loyalty a living thing by being emotionally available. You did not shut down when emotions surfaced. You did not mock vulnerability or minimize feelings. You allowed space for emotions to exist without rushing to fix or judge them. That openness told the other person, you are safe here. Safety is the soil in which devotion grows roots. You did not compete with the world for their attention. You did not demand to be the center of everything. You trusted the connection. You allowed friendships, passions, and responsibilities to coexist with you. You understood that loyalty is not isolation. It is integration. That understanding made you feel like a partner, not a burden. Someone is devoted to you because you saw them clearly. Not as an idea, not as a fantasy, not as a role they needed to play to earn your care. You saw their flaws, contradictions, fears, and strengths. And you did not run. You did not try to reshape them into someone more convenient. You accepted the real human in front of you. Being truly seen and still chosen creates a bond that is difficult to break. You made loyalty a living thing by standing up for them when they were not in the room. You did not allow others to disrespect them casually. You did not stay silent to stay liked. You protected their name, their intentions, and their humanity. That kind of loyalty is felt even when unseen. And when people know you protect them in absence, devotion deepens in presence. You did not use loyalty as leverage. You did not say, "If you loved me, you would." You did not turn care into a test. You trusted their intentions and addressed issues directly rather than manipulating emotions. That created an environment where loyalty felt like a gift, not an obligation. Someone is devoted to you because you made them feel emotionally chosen, not just temporarily wanted. You were not hot and cold. You were steady. You did not pull away to provoke chasing. You did not play games with attention. You showed that your care was not a tactic. It was a truth. Consistency like that calms the nervous system. And when someone's nervous system is calm around you, attachment becomes secure rather than anxious. You made loyalty a living thing by being accountable. When you made mistakes, you did not hide behind excuses. You acknowledged harm. You apologized sincerely. You changed behavior. That taught them that loyalty does not mean never failing, it means taking responsibility when you do. Accountability builds respect, and respect sustains devotion far longer than charm ever could. You allowed space for mutuality. Loyalty was not one-sided. You did not take without giving. You did not expect emotional labor without offering your own. You did not turn someone into your sole source of support. You built interdependence, not dependence. That balance made the bond resilient rather than fragile. Someone is devoted to you because you believed in them during moments when they doubted themselves. You did not see their uncertainty as weakness. You saw potential beneath it. You spoke encouragement without pressure. You offered belief without demanding immediate results. That quiet faith became a mirror they could see themselves through. And people grow attached to those who help them see their own strength. You made loyalty a living thing by staying human. You did not pretend to be perfect. You allowed yourself to be seen learning, adjusting, and evolving. That authenticity made loyalty feel real rather than performative. It allowed the other person to be human too. Devotion does not thrive in perfection, it thrives in shared humanity. Someone is devoted to you because your presence brought peace, not confusion. They did not have to decode your silence constantly. They did not have to guess where they stood. They did not have to walk on eggshells to keep you. You communicated clearly. You reassured without being asked. You addressed issues rather than letting them rot in silence. Peace is addictive. People become devoted to what brings them peace. You made loyalty a living thing by honoring endings as much as beginnings. You did not threaten abandonment during conflict. You did not use leaving as a way to gain power. You understood that loyalty means working through difficulty, not escaping it at the first sign of discomfort. That commitment created emotional security. Someone is devoted to you because you treated loyalty as something sacred but not rigid. You allowed it to adapt to seasons of life. You understood that energy fluctuates, priorities shift, and growth can look messy. You did not interpret every change as betrayal. You chose curiosity over accusation. That flexibility made loyalty sustainable rather than suffocating. You made loyalty a living thing by choosing empathy. You tried to understand before reacting. You considered context. You asked questions instead of assuming intentions. That empathy told them they were not alone in their inner world. And when someone feels emotionally accompanied, devotion becomes natural. Someone is devoted to you because you did not confuse intensity with intimacy. You built depth slowly, through shared experiences, honest conversations, and mutual respect. You understood that true loyalty is quiet but strong, not explosive and fragile. That wisdom created something lasting. In the end, devotion did not happen because you were perfect. It happened because you were present. Consistent, respectful, and real. You made loyalty breathe by living it, not preaching it. You turned it into something felt rather than demanded. And that is why someone chose you not out of fear of losing you, but out of a genuine desire to stay. When loyalty becomes a living thing, it no longer needs chains. It grows roots on its own, and even now, that devotion continues to deepen in ways that are quiet and almost invisible from the outside. It shows up in how they think of you when making decisions, even when you are not physically present. In how your voice echoes in moments of doubt, not as pressure, but as grounding. In how they instinctively protect what you share, because what you built together feels alive, fragile, and worth guarding. This is what happens when loyalty is not taught but experienced. You made loyalty a living thing by allowing time to shape it. You did not panic when devotion didn't look dramatic. You trusted the slow accumulation of shared meaning. You understood that real bonds are layered, not sudden. That each conversation, each resolved misunderstanding, each moment of shared silence added another strand. Over time, those strands became a rope strong enough to hold weight. Not because it was forced to, but because it was woven carefully, Someone is devoted to you because you did not abandon connection when life became heavy. You did not disappear during stress, exhaustion, or uncertainty. You did not treat hardship as an excuse to emotionally withdraw. You learned how to say, "I'm struggling, but I'm still here." That honesty made your presence believable. It taught them that loyalty does not vanish when conditions are imperfect. It adapts. It stays. It learns new ways to exist. You made loyalty a living thing by respecting boundaries rather than resenting them. When limits were expressed, you did not take them personally. You did not see boundaries as rejection. You saw them as information, as care for the relationship's longevity. That response told the other person they could be honest with you without fear. And honesty is the bloodstream of devotion. Someone is devoted to you because you didn't require them to perform happiness to earn your presence. You allowed sadness, frustration, confusion, and fear to exist without trying to rush them out. You understood that loyalty means standing beside someone, not dragging them forward before they are ready. That patience created emotional intimacy far deeper than constant positivity ever could. You made loyalty a living thing by choosing respect in moments where disrespect would have been easier. During arguments, you did not aim to win, you aimed to understand. You did not weaponize vulnerabilities shared in trust. You did not strike where it would hurt most just to feel powerful. You protected the bond even while addressing conflict. That showed that your loyalty was not conditional on comfort. Someone is devoted to you because you saw their effort. Even when it was imperfect. Even when it fell short. You noticed when they tried, and you acknowledged it. You did not only praise results, you valued intention. Feeling seen in effort creates motivation that pressure never will. It makes people want to keep showing up, not because they must, but because they feel valued. You made loyalty a living thing by letting joy be shared rather than hoarded. You celebrated their wins without comparison. You did not feel threatened by their growth. You took pride in their progress as if it were your own. That generosity of spirit told them you were not competing with them. You were standing with them. Someone is devoted to you because you did not disappear into your role. You were not just a supporter, a partner, a constant presence. You remained a whole person. You kept your curiosity, your learning, your inner life alive. That vitality made loyalty dynamic rather than stagnant. It showed that devotion does not mean stagnation, it means evolving together. You made loyalty a living thing by understanding silence. You knew when to speak and when to simply be there. You did not fill every pause with noise or demands. You respected emotional processing. That sensitivity made your presence soothing rather than overwhelming. People grow devoted to those who can sit with them in silence without making it uncomfortable. Someone is devoted to you because you did not demand certainty before offering care. You did not say, "Prove you'll stay," then I'll open up. You took emotional risks responsibly. You showed trust in measured, honest ways. That courage invited reciprocity. It said, "This matters to me enough to be real." And realness invites real devotion. You made loyalty a living thing by remembering that people are not consistent machines. You allowed for off days, miscommunication, emotional fatigue. You did not label temporary distance as permanent disconnection. You responded with curiosity instead of panic. That emotional steadiness became a refuge. Someone is devoted to you because your loyalty felt like choice, not obligation. Every time you stayed, it felt intentional. Every time you showed up, it felt deliberate. You did not act as if you were trapped. You acted as if you were choosing this connection again and again. Being chosen repeatedly is profoundly grounding. You made loyalty a living thing by letting it be mutual. You allowed yourself to receive care as well. You did not turn strength into isolation. You accepted support without guilt. That vulnerability allowed the bond to balance itself. Devotion deepens when both people are allowed to matter. Someone is devoted to you because with you. Loyalty did not feel like pressure to be perfect. It felt like permission to be honest. And honesty is where real connection lives. As time passes, what you built does not fade. It settles. It matures. It becomes quieter, stronger, less reactive. The devotion remains not because it is constantly tested, but because it has been consistently nurtured. Loyalty, when treated as a living thing, does not demand proof. It simply continues to exist, growing in depth, resilience, and meaning, and that is what you created. Not a promise that could be broken, but a bond that knows how to breathe, and in that breathing, something profound remains. The devotion that lives between you is no longer something that needs to be named or explained. It does not need reassurance every moment or constant affirmation to survive. It exists in the unspoken understanding that has settled into place, the kind that comes only after trust has been tested gently by time and held carefully through change. This is not fragile loyalty. This is loyalty that has learned how to endure. You made loyalty a living thing by allowing it to rest. You did not keep it in a state of constant proving. You understood that what is alive needs cycles, moments of intensity, moments of quiet, moments of renewal. You did not panic when the connection softened into calm. You recognized peace as depth, not distance. That wisdom allowed devotion to mature rather than burn out. Someone is devoted to you because you never treated their presence as something guaranteed. Even as trust grew, you remained grateful. You did not grow careless with words or inattentive to effort. You continued to show appreciation in small, sincere ways. Gratitude kept the bond awake. It reminded both of you that loyalty is not automatic, it is chosen daily, even when it feels natural, you made loyalty a living thing by holding space for uncertainty without letting it poison the connection. You accepted that not everything can be known or controlled. You allowed the future to unfold without gripping it too tightly. That openness reduced fear and created room for authenticity. When someone does not feel trapped by expectations, devotion flows freely. Someone is devoted to you because you never asked them to shrink to stay close. You did not require silence to maintain harmony. You did not demand agreement to feel secure. You allowed differences to exist without turning them into threats. That emotional freedom made closeness feel expansive rather than limiting. You made loyalty a living thing by staying curious about the person they were becoming, not just the person they had been. You listened for growth. You adapted to change. You loved them in motion, not frozen in a single version of themselves. That adaptability told them they would not be abandoned for evolving. And that assurance deepened devotion beyond fear-based attachment. Someone is devoted to you because your loyalty had integrity. It did not bend for convenience. It did not disappear under pressure. It did not shift depending on who was watching. Your consistency built something solid in a world that often feels unstable. People anchor themselves to what feels solid. You made loyalty a living thing by understanding that love and devotion are not maintained through intensity alone, but through care. Care in tone. Care in timing. Care in listening. Care in repair. You invested in the small, invisible moments that rarely get celebrated but make all the difference. That investment accumulated into trust that did not need constant reinforcement. Someone is devoted to you because you made room for repair. When disconnection happened, you did not let it harden into distance. You returned to the conversation. You addressed what broke. You prioritized healing over ego. That willingness to repair taught them that the bond could survive mistakes. Safety grows where repair is possible. You made loyalty a living thing by not fearing depth. You did not skim the surface of connection to avoid vulnerability. You allowed real conversations to happen. You let yourself be known beyond roles and expectations. That depth made the bond meaningful, not just comfortable. Someone is devoted to you because your loyalty carried dignity. You did not humiliate, belittle, or dismiss. Even in disagreement. You preserved respect. You remembered that how you treat someone during difficulty defines the relationship more than how you treat them during ease. That dignity became unforgettable. You made loyalty a living thing by choosing alignment over attachment. You stayed because it felt right, not because you were afraid to leave. That distinction matters. It made your devotion clean, not desperate. And clean devotion invites clean devotion in return. Someone is devoted to you because you allowed love to be spacious. You did not crowd it with fear. You did not suffocate it with demands. You trusted its strength. That trust became self-fulfilling. Over time, what exists between you becomes less about effort and more about presence. Less about proving and more about being. The devotion does not announce itself, but it is felt. In steadiness. In mutual regard. In the quiet certainty that whatever changes, the core remains intact. You did not make loyalty a rule. You made it a rhythm. Something lived, not enforced. Something chosen, not owed, and that is why someone is devoted to you. Not because they have to be, but because, with you, loyalty feels alive.